Welcome back. This is part 2. I'm going over the answers for your unit assignment, your end of unit assignment. So temperature, define temperature according to the particle model. Well, again, if you look on page 204, here's what you're going to find. Temperature is the motion of the particles. That's how we define it. So the higher the temperature, the faster the motion of the particles. Okay, when temperature goes down, the speed or motion of particles slows down. Explain how heat and temperature are related, but yet different concepts. Heat is two things: the number of particles a substance has plus their temperature, in other words, their motion. So something big like an iceberg can have more heat than a cup of tea at 60 degrees Celsius. So the iceberg has more heat. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. Why does it have more heat? Because it has way more particles. Whereas what is temperature? Temperature is just, as we defined before, the motion. Passive solar heating is the next question versus active solar heating. So passive solar heating involves a liquid. It has solar panels somewhere. Active solar heating, you can store the heat for nighttime use. It has pipes. The liquid is usually something like water or antifreeze because it holds heat well, antifreeze. Okay, there are pipes. Passive solar heating just uses windows usually, and they're south facing above the equator in the northern hemisphere, and the windows are north facing if you live in the southern hemisphere, because that's where the sun's coming from. So Australia, if you built a house in Australia, you'd want north facing windows in your house. If you live in Calgary, you want south facing windows to maximize heat exposure. Explain how a thermostat works. Well, there's a great diagram of a thermostat in your book. While I pull it up, I just want to talk about how a thermostat works. So on page 199 is a picture of a thermostat. So here's my glass tube. There are wires connected, and there's a bimetallic coil. There's a bead of mercury right here. So the bimetallic coil, right now, if you looked at the thermostat, it would be off because there's a gap there between the two electrical wires inside the glass tube. But as the room cools down, this coil gets smaller and causes the glass tube to tilt, and the bead of mercury slides down and it covers up the two electrical contacts. That sends electricity throughout the system to your furnace, so it's a loop, and the furnace turns on. Then, as the furnace is heating the home, the glass or the bimetallic coil expands, causing the glass tube to tilt this way, which means the bead of mercury goes over here, and that creates a gap or air between the two electrical contacts. And this is important for safety so that your house doesn't overheat or doesn't get too cold. Describe the difference between a forced air and a hot water heating home. So there's a great diagram in your book on this. And so if you look on page 235 to help you with this one. And we're going to get cut off for time, so part 3 I'll explain this.